So we have already reacted to the Stranger Things first 5 minutes. You can check out my reaction here, and I can gladly tell you that whatever we predicted before watching the 5 minutes came out to be absolutely true. You can check out that video here as well. Anyways, today we are going to break down each and every frame of those 5 minutes, and I'm going to tell you each and every connection to that each and every frame that we see. So first off, we start off with Castle Byers, and actually we have known this for 2 years now. Yesterday in my reaction I said 1 year, but it was actually 2 years. On 2023, the Stranger Things Day 2023, the Duffer Brothers themselves told us that this is going to be the first scene, and here we can see they have mentioned a familiar song, and fans like me were ready to quickly assume that that song is definitely going to be Should I Stay or Should I Go, the song that resonates with Will Byers and his brother Jonathan Byers.
Should I stay or should I go?
And after we figure out that that is going to be the song that was going to be played, it was very easy to assume that the first scene in season 5 is going to be a flashback scene. But in what point in the timeline of season number 1? I'll tell you. So Will Byers went missing on 6th of November 1983, and he was found on 12th of November 1983. And this scene that we see in the first 5 minutes of Stranger Things season 5 is the scene on 12th of November 1983. And I can also tell you that the final scene that we see in the first 5 minutes here is a scene which takes place just moments before Will Byers was found in the season finale of season number 1, when Hopper and Joyce found him in the Upside Down. So they found him in the library, and the state in which they found him was this. And yeah, this is the scene where we end these 5 minutes, these first 5 minutes of Stranger Things season 5. And let me even tell you that in episode number 7 of season number 1, we saw this scene in which Will was humming the song Should I Stay or Should I Go, and he was hiding in the Castle Byers. And after this we see that the Castle Byers is attacked by a Demogorgon, but after that we don't see what happens with Will Byers, and then we finally see him when he was found in the library in the Upside Down at the end of season 1. So of course these 5 minutes that we are seeing here is the flashback of the 2 points in between, after this scene, after the Castle Byers was destroyed and before Will Byers was found. So what happened between these 2 scenes is exactly what we see in the first 5 minutes, and we predicted exactly what happens in this, because you know, at the start we see Castle Byers, we see this is a young Will Byers, and this is 12th of November. I am reminding it to you again, but here's a very interesting detail that I found out. When he realizes that the Demogorgon is approaching, he quickly grabs onto his gun. And we all know that this gun could be traveled from the real world itself, because in the real world, when Will Byers was taken into the Upside Down, he was holding this gun. So it is fair to assume that this gun that Will Byers has is the same gun that we has in this scene before he goes missing. And this can also explain why Will Byers was able to survive for 6 days in the Upside Down, because of course he had a gun with him. I'm not quite sure about the number of bullets that he has, but definitely he had the gun and he was good at hiding, so he was able to survive those 6 days. And I'm sure that there are going to be even more reasons why he survived those 6 days, and we'll definitely get to see them in the 5th season. But anyways, he shoots at the Demogorgon, and then he runs away, and then he climbs onto a tree, and a very good shot this is, you know, with the red lights and all. But anyways, the Demogorgon finds him, the Demogorgon climbs the tree as well, and then Will just jumps across to the other tree, and in doing so finally falls down. Now things from here are very interesting, because here we are going to go in deep decoding mode. So here we see Will Byers fell down and he is assumably unconscious. He is not dead, he is unconscious, okay? And then he is grabbed by the Demogorgon. Now we have talked about this, that this is the Hawkins library. This is the Hawkins library where Will Byers was found when he was found in the first season of the finale. In the finale of the first season, the Demogorgon takes Will and he bows out, and I even specifically told you about this, that he bows down, that he bows out and you know, just indicates the king's arrival, and the king is of course Vecna. So Vecna comes here. Now you can see Vecna has 2 hands, okay, of course, but his right hand is his most human hand, which he uses to nurture, and his left hand is his controlling hand. Like, from his left hand he can control things, he can move things, he can move the vines, he can control the Upside Down, because in the next scene we can see that he has his left hand and he just twists his arm, and immediately all the vines come in, all the vines follow him, and just, you know, grabs Will Byers and puts him on the wall. And here Vecna says those 3-4 magical words.
We are going to do such beautiful things together, William.
Now again, in the season finale of the first season, we saw that Will Byers had a wine stuck up his throat, and this is exactly that wine that we are seeing here. This wine that we see in the first 5 minutes is exactly that wine. But this wine does more than that. This wine is not just a wine, it does more than that. I'll show you how, because in the next scene we can see that this is something that kind of looks like it is a working heart, like it is pumping something, and it is actually pumping some of the shadow particles that we know that consist in the shadow monster. So in season 2 we see the shadow monster, the mind flayer, and the mind flayer is made up of all those dust particles, right? And even these dust particles were mentioned in season 4, where Vecna identified these dust particles as something extraordinary that he was able to harness, that he made the mind flayer. So these are those same dust particles which are being injected in poor Will Byers. And that's it. That's the end of the first 5 minutes. But now here the question is, what is this thing? Like, what is this thing? Now, between these two shots, now it definitely looks like it is pumping something because it is moving, and it is definitely pumping those dust particles in him. Now here is a very, very interesting connection that we can have here. Now just assume that now we all know that the three-headed monster is going to be one of the villains in season number 5, and this three-headed monster was supposedly shown in this scene in the first teaser of Stranger Things. Now what if these two scenes are connected? What if this is the heart that pumps these dust particles in Will, and this is the same heart that operates the three-headed monster, or whatever this wall is? I mean, it's a stretch, but maybe, just maybe. And even one of our subscribers mentioned this, so kudos to that. Thank you so much. Just keep bringing in your theories. Thank you so much for that. Now on the other hand, for a moment I thought that this could be like an eyeball. For some reason I thought this could be an eyeball, but anyways, whatever this is, it is pumping the dust particles. That I am sure that it is pumping the dust particles in Will Byers. And now let's go back to season number 1. Season number 1, the final shot in season number 1 that we see is Will Byers is in his bathroom, and whatever the upside down particle that he coughs out. Now I don't know anyone has said this, but maybe that grows on to become D'Artagnan, Dart, that we see in season 2. So if that is the case, that means Vecna always had this plan, but whatever the things were pumping into Will in this scene, so those things obviously polluted the real world. The mind flayer came into existence. Even now I think the D'Artagnan also came into existence because of this pumping thing, whatever the hell this is. So these are all the things that we can derive from just one scene that we see here. Now even if you have seen these 5 minutes and we have decoded them, there are still a zillion questions that we have about season 5. There are a lot of questions, but the 5 most prominent questions, I have written them on a sheet of paper, and I'm definitely going to make a video on that. And in the meantime, if you want to help me with my video, please in the comments engage with the content of this video. Just engage with your theories. Just tell me your theories, and also tell me that what are the answers that you are seeking in season number 5. And yeah, please tell me in the comments what are your theories, and thank you so much for watching as always.